With the COVID-19 pandemic placing the world at a standstill, people all around the globe are looking for ways to distract themselves during lockdowns and self-isolation. Unlike during the pandemics of old, in 2020 we have the internet and virtually every movie and TV show ever made at our fingertips. So with almost unlimited options available,
you got 19 dead, you got hundreds more infected, and it's spreading like a brush fire.
Why are people watching pandemic movies right now? In early March, just as COVID was reaching the US, Netflix reported that the 1995 medical thriller Outbreak was the 9th most streamed product on the service. Looking at the Google search trend for Outbreak, it's clear that before this started, no one was really seeking out the movie. In fact, if we look at the trend lines for a generic search term like pandemic movies, we see the same trend, little interest until earlier this year. So what is it that's causing people to seek out entertainment about the exact disastrous scenario we're currently facing?
What we find ourselves facing here, like as we stare headlong into our, slow moving cataclysm, our only guides for this time are the speculative world of movies like the Andromeda Strain and movies like Outbreak and movies like Steven Soderbergh's Contagion. These are kind of our only documents to figure out how we're all supposed to feel right now, is how we've been feeling in reaction to these movies for years, decades.
While audiences could be seeking out movies to imagine what might happen as our world undergoes drastic changes due to the virus, there may be a more comfort-based psychological answer as well.
There is hope. In every one of these movies, there is hope. Even those that have the bad ending. There is hope in every single one of these movies.
This is Dr. Travis Langley, psychologist and author of Batman and Psychology, A Dark and Stormy Night, and editor of a series of books about pop culture and psychology.
Some of what goes on in the popularity of these movies is mentally rehearsing a situation, thinking, well, what could this turn into? These stories let us think about these things in a safer way. It's not our lives. It's not us being put in risk. It's not our children, our grandparents who are in danger. In a crisis, we have these things on our mind. We have these outbreaks. We have pandemic, epidemic. We wonder about these things. We need to think about these things, but sometimes it's just horrible to contemplate. So we do it through this fiction.
Seeking out movies about the current crisis or tragedy is nothing new. Just look at which movies were being rented right after 9/11.
There was a boom in the rentals of movies about airplane hijackings. Turbulence, a movie with Ray Liotta, which had done terribly at the box office. Passenger 57, Con Air. People loved Con Air. Even though at that time we did not have streaming services to give us quite the immediate feedback to show what's number 3 on Netflix in this category today. But we still got pretty quick news about the boom in rentals of airplane hijacking movies after 9/11.
So as this global lockdown continues, if you find yourself seeking out a movie about deadly viruses and a global health crisis, you are not alone.
Movies go quickly. You have an hour and a half to instigate and resolve your problem. And even if that resolution is a bad one, there's still a clarity to outcome that suggests we can begin planning our lives after this neat and tidy story wraps itself up.
But regardless of whether or not you're drawn to this particular and potentially distressing genre, entertainment in general is a great coping mechanism in times like these.
Sharing discussion about this fiction can help people feel connected to each other. I see people who are talking to each other more than they did. Well, these discussions tend to be either about the virus news or some sort of fiction. Whether it's games or movies or a documentary about people who own tigers. Okay, that's not exactly fiction, but those people are very difficult to believe. But some form of entertainment that is engrossing and thought-provoking to them, even if it's not directly related to the virus.
Our best advice, if this particular genre makes you feel safer or more secure, go for it. If not, you may be better off just watching The Office for the 50th time.
Lock the doors, we're on full quarantine!
I'm very curious to see how, now that we have a real tangible experience to hold on to, how will Contagion movies that come out in the next 3 to 5 years feel different specifically than movies that have come out before when it was all purely speculative?